In this video, we have two LEGO enthusiasts joining together to create a diorama that will change the course of LEGO building for the both of them. For months now, they have been planning and preparing for this collaboration by using Minecraft to create a template for their build. However, the only problem they both have run into is that they both live a couple of hours away from each other. How are they going to build this giant creation so far apart? BrickRad had secretly made a wish that the stars would align for them to get together, and for Sean to open his door and ask him,
"You want to build a mock today? All right, come on in." Welcome to the studio.
Oh, this is crazy. Honestly, I don't think I've ever seen like a studio where it's just got like just so many cool things to look at. Honestly, we had a tour yesterday, and so this is a reenactment and everything. But honestly, it's really cool to just see all these sets displayed out. And Sean has a lot of modulars too. So right over here, he has the whole street. I mean, it's missing a couple of the originals. But I'm not gonna judge because I don't have a single. Oh, actually, no, you do. Those ones. Just missing the cafe corner and the mall. I think that's about that. Those are the. Let me see.
Check my room.
Oh, I see. Oh no. Okay, there's more. Sean also has a bunch of custom builds. So seeing these custom Inhert, was it? Inthert. Yeah, there we go. The German fella that works with what's the brick?
Brick Vault.
Yeah, brick. Oh my god. Fumble right here. But yeah, all these Brick Vault custom builds are just fantastic to see. Like, got the Ewing in the background, still a work in progress. And then just seeing all these custom builds. He's got some of the new sets too, like the V19. Not as good as the original in my opinion. Got the AT-AT and then just custom builds all over the spot. And also seeing his part sorting is always a fun thing for me. So when I ever get to see someone else's collection, I judge them by their organizing. That's kind of how I do it. And Sean's got a really fantastic way. I've actually been talking to him a bunch about how he does it, and it's really cool to see that it's done in the brick architect method of organizing it by like 16 categories. So he's got, I mean, we have this all laid out for the mock today, but he's got everything like brick modified, plate modified, specialty pieces. Obviously that's like your own discrepancy. That's whatever works for your brain. And then, and then Technic pieces over here, which I'm glad he has sorted because that's one of my favorite things to look through is Technic. Yeah, and then we just got more overflow stuff over here, which is great just to let your brain explore and kind of pick up whatever you need to work on, all the gears and stuff. But yeah, I think this is prime location to work on a Felucia mock. What do you think, Sean?
Oh, absolutely.
While at lunch, we had some time just to kind of chat, figure out what exactly the day was going to look like for us. Because we had been planning this through Discord and Google Docs for about pretty much since April. And so this was our first time together where we actually were going to like start building the thing. And so it definitely helped that we were just in person and just kind of got to communicate a little bit. And, again, I got to share with him my whole parts collection and really go in depth of, how I sort. If you need parts, where are you going to find them? That's just always is super helpful when you're building collaboratively. The scale of this build is going to be using 32 by 32 base plates, and we're going to be using 16. So we're doing a 4 by 4 essentially. And it's actually the perfect size for this build because, again, we're going to be able to include the mountain, the little walkway, an ATTE, and basically all of the fun stuff you want in a great Felucia build.
So what I'm working on here for the mountain is I need to have a giant, basically like canvas so I can attach like each section, because what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna plate everything on this kind of Technic brick structure I've done. It looks flat right now, but what I'm doing is I'm giving it a lot of elevation by placing the 2x4 bricks. And what I'll eventually do is attach plates on top of them there, and that'll basically give it that sort of like kind of rough feeling, but it'll be super super chunky at the bottom and slowly kind of taper as it goes up the mountain. So it's gonna save me on a lot of like the 1x2x3 slopes, you know, having just placing them like up like that. Like this will be able to give me a lot of variety and essentially allow me to play with wedge plates, play with tiles, you know, make it really tall without using a ton of parts.
So there's a couple of different things I want to integrate into the MOC. I'm working on the power functions of the build. That's going to be my main prerogative. And so the two things we're working on are the mobilized ATTE that's not really moving. It's going to be more moonwalking in my mind. And then we also have the mechanism of the ARC 170 or whatever. I mean, I was thinking V19 Torrent because it's a bit more space efficient, but with the ARC 170, it's more story accurate. So we're going to try it with that first. And so I have a couple of different mechanisms in mind, but I need to start working on the structure for it. I'm going to start figuring out my mushroom structures because that's like the main way I'm going to connect this. So I'm going to have a look through Sean's Technic bins and see what we can find in there that's nice and delicious. All right, Sean, update.
All right, I'm doing good. I'm feeling good. The mountain is coming along very nicely here. So I see got a lot of texturing, a lot of slopes here, a lot of tiles, wedges, you know, just trying to create some sort of variation within the mountain pattern here. A lot of this too is based off of color. So again, having the dark brown with the reddish brown mixed with dark green, and then sprinkling in reddish brown, the olive green and dark green slopes and cheese slopes, really like, I don't know, it just makes the mountain feel a lot more like rigid and rough, while still like maintaining kind of a smooth texture as like we go through each
layer, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. You see like it's all like, you know, tapers in as it goes up, but yeah, it's coming along. It takes a long time. It's a lot of just kind of placing parts, seeing what's gonna work. But yeah, just these, again, tiles and wedges have just been my best friend in this. And yeah, I love it. And my favorite part too is that I actually used some hinge parts to put these on a bit of a slope. So again, just kind of different variations, and with all of that paired together, it just makes it seem so much more natural.
Here, we've obviously got the Technic side of things going on, and the MTT is proving to be a way better counterweight than I was expecting. I just had to do a few modifications, and now it works as a great counterweight. But what you guys really want to know about, obviously, is does this mechanism work? You know, there is something that happens when you twist it. So I almost had a bit of an accident here where the Technic pieces got stuck inside this thing. And as you may know, there are some techniques where you could just lose pieces because you put them inside of another piece and then you just can't recover it. But basically this whole shaft it just goes in and out like that. And then the idea is that I'll just have like this pendulum and it will be locked off at another point here. But ideally it will then just basically be a little tug motion and this will swing a bit more freely. And so then basically I'll just like essentially rigid mount this to like there, and then it will kind of swivel. Now the question is, will this have enough torque to be able to move it? And that's the real question, because the heavier the ship, the harder the LEGO Technic's gonna have to work.
And so while Conrad was working on this insane Technic structure here, I again was still working on the mountain here. And again, a lot of it is just such tedious work of placing slopes, plates, tiles, seeing what's working, what's blending in together. You know, I'm tapering the mountain up, so how do I make sure it is curving in that right direction that I want it to be?
All right, so starting off on day 2 here, we have some different adjustments that we kind of made last night. We're calling a bit of an audible here. We are relocating where the mountain is and how much of the mountain we're gonna be building. So obviously yesterday I built this 9x9 Technic brick kind of facade for the mountain, which is heavy. It's probably about like 15, 18 pounds here. So it's a big boy. But instead of building this a couple more times, basically 3 more times around, what we decided to do is to push it back and basically have it just be more or less a facade of a mountain. I think it would have taken up too big of a footprint. We've shifted it back a little bit. We're gonna have it on a 45 here. And I think it's gonna open up the build a lot more as well. Instead of just being like just this huge mountain, which would be really hard to kind of seal up, I think having it just be the facade here and pulling it back kind of gives the Sarlacc area its own like place to live and breathe. You know, we want to add some tunnels and caves on the backside as well. I think it'll all work out for the best here.
While I was working on this mechanism, I realized it's going to be really hard to figure out how I'm implementing this into the whole build in general. And since we're making some adjustments to the terrain, I figured that we should probably just start with actually planning out the base of the build rather than me hopping straight into power functions and technique, etc. So what we're going to do for the rest of the day is essentially plan out, lay out a good feel of elevation and terrain for the rest of the build so that Sean can work on the mountain structures while I'm not here, and I can work on the power functions on my end, like integrating the movement into the ATTE or even working more on this design right here. So what we've kind of been working on has been a bit random. So I've been kind of doing a couple different things while Sean's been working on the more mountain stuff. I have started on a bit of a mushroom structure. Now, it's not fantastic, but I found a couple cool angles that you can get to make this like thing. The structure that I'm working on over here is a sort of spider-like looking mushroom structure. And so for color wise, and this is also kind of a template and kind of experiment on what I was going to do for the big mycelium mushroom arch, like that goes across with the Technic suspension, is this sort of light gray and lavender kind of color mix. I think what might be kind of nice is also mixing in some dark gray and dark purple to kind of blend the colors a bit better. But as you know, Lego doesn't really have as many steps in terms of color as, say, Minecraft does or something. So it's always a bit tough to kind of make that happen. So I got to experiment a little on my own when I've got a couple different parts. I know Sean is a bit limited in the lavender department, but so am I. So he's letting me take his 1x2s home with me to kind of work on that bit.
I have to say that overall, day 2 felt so good because we really got a ton of the grunt work done on the first day. And so day 2 here was pretty much just kind of filling out, you know, what we both need to do once we kind of go our separate ways here for a little bit. How I can keep working on the mock, how Conrad can keep working on the mock. Again, he's mostly going to be focused on the power function side, and I'm going to be mostly focused on the terrain part. So as you can kind of see in the time-lapse footage here, you know, we're both just kind of laying down what I need to do to make sure this mock can come together while he's not here. But without further ado, everyone, I want to present to you guys the progress we got done for this first episode.
Alright everyone, so if you enjoyed this episode, please make sure to hit that like button and subscribe if you have not already. Also, please make sure to head over to BrickRad's channel because you're not going to want to miss episode 2 of this series, which will be premiering on his channel exclusively.